incredibly busy. He does a bunch of shows, Celebrity Family Feud, Little Big Shots. Now he's got a new revival of Showtime at the Paul. I don't know why I'm giving him a plug when he's such. This is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo.
Right? Against gay people.
Against gay people, against Asians.
Everybody thinks Steve Harvey some stand-up ass motherfucker man. No, he kissed his old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. That's how he had the radio show out here.
Ask anyone who the most famous TV show host is in America, maybe even the world, and the answer will be Steve Harvey. People think Steve is the most beloved celebrity who everybody loves, but turns out people closest to him think otherwise. Ask anyone who works with him and they'll portray a completely different picture. Now that he's officially canceled, what does Steve Harvey have to say about his online witch hunt?
You're busy. I hear you, brother, okay? Having said that, that doesn't give you license to be such a to people you work with.
Let's have a look. It seems like Steve Harvey's days of glory are behind him, and now it's time for payback. For years, Steve has enjoyed fame and respect from not just his coworkers and people in the industry, but also the general public. He was the guy when it came to morning shows. Even today, he's the most recognizable person in any room. But he's not as sweet in real life as he pretends to be on screen. In fact, he's quite a pain to work with, and people have finally had enough.
You're telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I am annoyed by your presence.
Why is Steve Harvey getting canceled after all these years, you might ask? It's because he's finally stopped pretending to be the nice guy and showed his real colors. A memo he sent to his staffers has finally opened people's eyes to the kind of person he is. And trust us when we say this, you're better off not knowing. In his memo, Steve let go of any pretense of niceness and drew a line between himself and his coworkers, as if they were beneath him. The memo read, "My security team will stop everyone from standing at my door who have the intent to see or speak to me. I want all the ambushing to stop now. That includes TV staff. You must schedule an appointment. I promise you I will not entertain you in the hallway and do not attempt to walk with me." Steve has responded to the backlash over the memo, and would you believe it? He has doubled down instead of apologizing. He thinks people wanting to talk to him are taking advantage of him. Talk about being cocky. I could not find a way to walk from the stage to my dressing room, to sit in my makeup chair, to walk from my dressing room to the stage, or to just sit and have lunch without somebody just walking in. I've always had a policy where, you can come and talk to me. So many people are great around here, but some of them just started taking advantage of it. Steve thinks having fans and people waiting on him felt like a prison and was sick of it. I just didn't want to be in this prison anymore, where I had to be in this little room, scared to go out and take a breath of fresh air without somebody approaching me. So I wrote the letter. In the end, he straight up refused to acknowledge his mistake or apologize. After years of being untouchable, Steve thinks he can say or do anything without any consequences. I don't apologize about the letter, but it's kind of crazy what people who took this thing and ran, man. Clearly, he doesn't think a lot of people are worth his time, because now he has refused to let anyone approach him at work. It's obvious Steve doesn't even realize how obnoxious and arrogant he sounds, and he has no intention of fixing his image. Some of you might be thinking that he's justified in not wanting to talk to anyone at work, but what you're forgetting is that he's always been a douche. This isn't the first time he's acted poorly and then expected everyone to just go along with it. Some of you might be heartbroken to find out, but Steve Harvey has always been a hateful bigot. That man isn't afraid to be racist and homophobic in public.
You're talking about a sexual relationship because there are gay men out there who can live without us sexually.
Real men.
Straight men. Gay men are real men. They are real men.
Okay.
Apparently, gay men aren't real men to Steve. And that's not all. He hates Asians as well, despite being a man of color himself. You'd think a black man would have some empathy for an Asian dude, but nope, Steve has no issues being a racist as long as it's not happening to his own people. In one of his segments, he tried roasting a book titled How to Date a White Woman, a Practical Guide for Asian Men. His response? That's one page too. Excuse me, do you like Asian men? No? Thank you. Asian men were of course offended by his cringy joke and pointed out his hypocrisy. Eddie Huang gagged Steve with his accurate character study of the host. He speaks openly about issues facing the Black community. He is a man of God, and he has a huge platform to speak from. Unfortunately, he's also the type of guy who orders Krug champagne for himself and cooks for everyone else. For his own personal profit, he's willing to perpetuate the emasculation of Asian men, regardless of how hypocritical it is. Next on the endless list of all that is wrong with Steve Harvey is the fact that he thinks all men want from women is sex. He even admitted that he had no female friends because men who are friends with women are just waiting for the opportunity to have sex because we're guys. Not to forget, he even insults his guests to make fun of them. He's made quite an enemy out of Ernie Hudson after he made fun of Ernie's son because of his voice. Ernie recalled, "We had a great time, even though Steve Harvey was annoying. My youngest son is very soft-spoken, and Steve was kind of making fun of his voice. I'm sitting there. Don't show that you're getting annoyed. I will knock him out." At this point, it's clear you cannot put anything beside Steve Harvey. He doesn't even get the meaning of consent. When asked for advice on how to turn away suitors, Harvey told a poor woman, "You cannot stop a guy. Once a guy is interested in you, we lock in. We don't care what you do." Despite his awful takes and his comedy basing on gender stereotypes, he pretends to be a relationship expert and goes around giving advice. Don't forget that his own love life is as messy as it gets.
Steve Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife.
He cheated on all his wives and once again doesn't even see how that's wrong. Instead, he tried to justify cheating, but only for men. Men can cheat because there are so many women willing to give themselves to a man who doesn't belong to them. He also has a lot of opinions when it comes to atheists and people's religious beliefs. Once again, he thinks he's right and everyone else is wrong. When asked about atheists, he called them all idiots and admitted that he didn't think they had any moral beliefs.
An atheist is someone who doesn't quite believe that there is somebody out there, some God out there.
Well, then to me, you're an idiot.
Steve knew his actions and comments were going to catch up with him one day. In 2022, he announced he would no longer do stand-up comedy because of the cancel culture. Little did he know his time in the spotlight was already borrowed. We're in the cancel culture, and nobody, no stand-up alive that is sponsor-driven, can say anything he wants to. People are pointing out that Steve Harvey getting canceled has been long overdue. That man should have lost his TV show years ago. Why wait till he outright acts better than everyone else when he's been acting homophobic and racist for years? One person wrote, "Did the Black community cancel Steve Harvey for being a misogynistic, homophobic fraud yet? Just wondering." People couldn't believe this man kept getting opportunities up until now despite his past. When he got to host Miss Universe in 2021, one person couldn't help but comment, "Why is a sexist, patronizing, homophobic man like Steve Harvey allowed to host Miss Universe 2021? It's so cringy to watch him objectify and talk down to the contestants, judges, and every woman he encounters. Miss Universe, please let a woman host the event in the future." Of course, there are others who think that canceling Steve Harvey over his memo now is an overreaction. After all, don't we all wish we could do the same to our coworkers? Tell them to leave us alone and not bother us? One fan wrote, "I remember Steve Harvey getting roasted for that harsh memo that he sent out about not wanting to be disturbed. Honestly, I get it. I wish I could send one out that tells people not to pester me when I have food and clearly have lunch on the brain." That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.